Hey everybody, what's going on? Went here, welcome back to the channel, and for this video, I want to talk about something that encapsulates all of the video games that we play because it's really easy to compile a list of your 5 favorite games of all time. I mean, it can be a little bit challenging because so many games come out there, but you just think about a game and you love it, but there are so many layers upon layers. It's like a deep fried onion of layers, and eventually you got to figure out, okay, I like this game because of the graphics, because of the music, but in some cases, people love video games because of the difficulty. Think all the way back to games like Super Meat Boy, where the entire premise is you're going to die over and over again. Other video games give you a couple of options, especially when you go there to the main menu, you see Start New Game, and then you get the question, hey, which difficulty are you planning on playing in? Sometimes you have games like a Diablo that give you this difficulty where it is permadeath, like, hey, you have your character up until level 30. What if he died? Well, guess what? You're starting all the way from the very beginning. So for this video, we're going to be talking about just that because I actually went to social media a couple of weeks ago and I asked all of you directly, which difficulty do you tend to choose in video games and why? And right off the bat, your response was 5% said easy, 77%, the vast majority said normal, and then 18% said hard. And we're not just going to leave it there because I'm first going to give my impressions as to what I look for in a video game, and then we're going to shift things over to a conversation because I actually have your tweets, so don't forget to follow me on social media. Description for all the details. So as you will see throughout the video, you're going to be accompanied with some Dead Cells footage for the Nintendo Switch because that is actually the game that inspired me to work on this video because it's a challenging game, but every single time it just made me want to play it more and more and more until over 25 hours later, I finally got a chance to beat the traditional, the set difficulty of the game. And the first question that I have to ask and answer for myself is, what do I look for in a video game? Same thing with you. Go to the comment section for each question. Don't be afraid to leave a response. So I look for an opportunity to escape from the real world. I have problems in real life just like everybody else has, professional, personal problems. Whenever I go to my game collection, I pick a game out and I pop it in my Nintendo Switch or the PS4, PS1. It's to smile, to have a good time, to get a sense of accomplishment that when I shut the game off, I feel like, okay, at least I got up until this point. Even if I don't beat the game, I can still experience different parts of the story or mechanics, and I can begin to comprehend or understand why other people love games. Now, this answer may have been a little bit different for a younger Juan because when I was a kid, I was all about the difficulty. I would pick out the hardest JRPGs or the hardest games for the PlayStation 1 and the PlayStation 2. But now that I'm nearing 30 years of age, I look for the games like Katamari, Damacy, Reroll on the Nintendo Switch. I look for games that just make me laugh, smile. I don't want something that reminds me of real life. I want something that is completely fantasy-based and that I just have a lot of fun in that world. And because we're talking about difficulty in video games, the next question is obviously, do I look for a challenge in a video game? And going all the way back to Super Meat Boy and all these other games like Binding of Isaac, I noticed that I have a threshold or a limit to the difficulty in the video game that I can tolerate because I tend to be a pretty passive gamer. If I weren't recording a video for the channel or if I wasn't streaming, usually whenever I watch or I play something, I tend to be pretty quiet. Unless the game really frustrates me or scares me. It needs to be in one of those two extremes. So with Super Meat Boy, I remember the exact moment I stopped playing it. I just kept dying and dying, and I must have died over 30 times in a stage. I shut it down and I uninstalled it from Steam because I was beginning to get agitated. So to me, the challenge in a video game has to be something that I can see the writing on the wall. Like, okay, I can't exactly do it right now, but I get the mechanics. So that's why Dead Cells was the perfect combination of, yeah, it's challenging. You're guaranteed to pretty much die every single time, but the fact that with a game like that, and Rogue Legacy is another excellent example, that every time you die, you get a little bit better. When I finally got a chance to beat it, that run, I want to say, took me about 45 minutes. So just think about that. And the fact that at each checkpoint, you can back out and continue playing the game. So even the game is aware of the fact that, look, this is frustrating enough that we feel we got to give you a couple of checkpoints, we got to give you a couple of upgrades, anything that involves me feeling that sense of hope, that sense of wait a minute, maybe I can actually do it. Because that is exactly what happened to me with Dead Cells. I had stopped playing it for about 3 months because I got frustrated at the fact that I just was not able to beat the final boss. But I wanted to do a follow-up video because a couple of weeks ago, maybe like a month or two ago, I made a video about the older games that I want to play this year and beat. But I wanted to do a follow-up talking about the modern games that I wanted to beat, and it was going to be that. So guess what? I'm recording in OBS, and I have the entire run, which is what you're seeing right now. All of a sudden, I beat the first boss, I beat the second boss, I get all the way to the last level. I ended up actually completing the game. I wanted to cry. I could not believe the fact that that actually happened. So to conclude and get to your comments on Twitter, which difficulty do I tend to choose in video games? The answer is normal. I never choose easy because easy just holds your hand so much that I get bored because there's no sense of challenge. I can try something like hard with a game like Dead Cells because I feel like normal no longer gives me that sense of challenge, but I've already mastered something. So to me, normal is the perfect balance. Now, if a game does not have that option, because Dead Cells technically did not have an option up until I finally beat the game, the initial run, for me, well, I just hope I have a good time with it, because if I'm not having fun, if there's nothing interesting aside from the actual difficulty of the game that keeps me, engaged and thinking about the game even when I put it down, it tends to be a game that I don't really look to play. So now let's get to your comments from Twitter. I will be reading them and then reacting. So the first one comes over to us from Caleb, who writes, mainly normal if I'm really into a game, but sometimes I switch it to easy so I can get through the game quicker. I know that there are a lot of video games that people say, hey, the gameplay aspect is a little bit on the dull side, but maybe you'll actually like walking around the world. Something like Ni no Kuni is an excellent example of a game that they saw Studio Ghibli, right? But then they saw, oh, it's turn-based. That's not really my thing. They wanted to experience a story. So something like that can definitely help. And now we have Cynical Justin, an awesome friend, who writes, mostly depends on what game I'm playing. If I want to enjoy the story mode, take my own pace, explore and admire the game design, I'll typically go for easy or normal. So actually, that's pretty much what I just said for the previous one. So interesting. If the game has a little more to offer than the gameplay itself, I'll put it on hard to prolong the experience. So when you make a game more difficult, by default, I assume your experience is going to be a lot longer, right? Because you're dying a lot more. Maybe you got to be a lot more analytical as to the decisions that you make, going all the way back to the example of Diablo. What happens if you die and you got to start all the way from the beginning because that's the difficulty that you chose. So really good things you pointed out there, mister. Now we have Crazy Wacko, who writes, I play them on the default difficulty. If I like the game, talking about Uncharted, Spider-Man, and Overcooked, I'll try to test myself playing it a second time on a higher difficulty. In Overcooked, trying to beat my own record. So what happens when you talk about difficulty in co-op games? Because Overcooked, you can try to maybe get a 2-star, 3-star. Maybe you need a lot of 3 stars to progress in a game like that where you can play it by yourself, but don't play Overcooked by yourself. That's a really bad idea, but you get New Game Plus at some point, and then it's like, oh, so it's not just my frustration. Maybe I'm doing pretty okay, but the other person is damn near about to break my controller, and these bad boys cost 60 to 70 bucks a pop, so let's not do that, right? And now we have Gerardo, who writes, when it comes to video games, I usually default to normal difficulty, hence my vote. However, I do like having the option to switch to easy, particularly in cases when I'm more interested in following the story or seeing the cutscenes. Some games tie you to a difficulty from the moment that you choose it at the beginning of the game. Others do give you an option to change it, but even they point out, hey, if you do that, maybe you won't get access to a specific achievement or a trophy. But I do like it when a game gives you that option. Most recently, I was playing Devil May Cry 3 as part of the HD collection, and I started dying a lot. And the game asked me, hey, Juan, you're not doing too great there. Do you wanna lower the difficulty to easy? Which I said, no, I'm not gonna be doing that. I'm better than you. I'm better than you, Devil May Cry. And now we have Liam Vincent, who writes, if it is a game franchise I'm not used to, I usually just go with default. If it's one I'm used to, I set it a hard difficulty. If you're not familiar with that, say it's your first time playing a God of War or even a Devil May Cry, then maybe, yeah, you play it safe, you go easy, and then if the game gives you an opportunity to change the difficulty as you continue to play and beat that story mode, then maybe you change it. But yeah, if you're something like you've already played God of War 1 and 2, the third one comes out, it gives you an option. Why not go with hard? Because you're familiarized with the controls, right? You have a pretty good idea of what the developer was trying to mold into the experience before you even hit the start button. Macheta writes, normal difficulty because that's how the developers intended the game to be played when they designed it. I'll play it on easy if it's a genre rat. I don't like a lot, like with horror games. Sometimes I'll play on hard when I'm replaying a first-person shooter. So if a game does not have multiple difficulty options, the replayability drastically goes down. Going all the way back to Dead Cells, which I brought up just like two times throughout this video, what if I beat it, but then there's nothing after? I would have put it down and never played it again. Yet the moment that I beat it, which I played like an hour of the game, I actually started playing it in hard. The fact that the game tells me, hey, now you have this, you can switch it back whenever you want, but the option to continue playing is there, and now you get a harder difficulty. TMK Martin writes, I pick hard. Life is hard. Experience is a great teacher and makes you appreciate the game. So TMK Martin is the type of guy, is the type of human being that goes, you know what? Give me that whip, give me that sword, give me that shield, because I'm going to do whatever it takes to beat that game. Because when I get home from the real life problems, I get that adrenaline rush and I got to get that game and I got to beat that game and I got to lower my tone because I'm getting tired, man. Thinking about hard difficulty games is it's a little bit tiring, but I totally get you, because when I play a first-person shooter, especially if it's online, I'm playing to get better. And if you're not playing with anybody that is harder or better than you, it gets a little bit boring. So if you're playing a story mode, a single-player experience, you definitely want that challenge. And last and most certainly not least, we have Oscar, who writes hard. So hey, you and TMK, you guys gotta hang out sometime. Hard because I think this is often the way that developers want us to play. Old games as evidence is the true endings that you could get with them. Instead of hard, normal, easy, the proper translation is normal, easy, super easy. So that is maybe hitting the nail on the head if that is the proper saying, which is back in the day talking about Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, games were impossibly hard. And many times they would give you normal and easy. And normal was pretty damn hard. I tried to play Batman Returns earlier in the year for Super Nintendo, and I still can't get past the second stage. I'm sorry, and I know that I probably should not admit that on a video, but I did. And I feel like if you compare that to 2019, that normal would be hard and easy would be bumped up to maybe normal. And then, yeah, it's normal, easy, super easy. And it's interesting because we're actually getting contradictions between the comments, because here we have Oscar saying that hard is maybe what the developers intend you to actually experience. But when you think about a AAA game, when you think about a video game that wants to be sold, if you make it really challenging for everybody, maybe people don't buy it. But we have Bloodborne, we have Demon Souls, we have Dark Souls, the games that exist because of their difficulty, and that's why they became popular. So I think the real answer for this video is that there is no answer, because it all depends on your individual experience. I think the real problem is when we go to the comment section, when we go to social media, and we call other people out because they're not playing on hard difficulty. I know that when you go to something like Twitch, you go there to watch the speed runs, to watch the experts play, but sometimes you kind of just want to watch somebody play the game because they love the game, they're passionate about the game. Maybe they don't necessarily own the game, like they know every little detail about it, but you can feel the love. And for that, it doesn't matter if it's easy, normal, hard, extreme, legendary, hyperbolic, time chamber levels of difficulty. All that matters is that you and me love video games, support video games, and support the video game community. I think I gotta end that there. I think we put a nice bow on this video. Please let me know what you think about this video, or if you have any ideas, suggestions for other videos, discussion videos like this, because for the past couple of weeks I've been delving into other things, but I definitely don't want to be afraid of, doing a couple of videos, a couple of weeks worth of jam packs of gameplay sessions, but then taking it all the way back to the very beginning of this channel, which are these sit-down casual conversations where I reach out to you, and maybe you guys bring up something in the comment section that leads up to like a Q&A or something like that. So please don't be afraid to go there. And also, if you want to help support the channel, do not forget to hit that subscribe button. And hey, don't leave yet. Hit the notifications bell, because I know that definitely helps. So when the latest videos do become available, and it's also important because maybe every 2 weeks or so, I may be doing a sporadic stream, 30 minutes, an hour, just to catch up, play maybe a video game that I'm currently progressing through that I may not traditionally do a video of. That may be happening, so that's why the subscribe and the notifications bell are absolutely essential. So up until next time, folks, this video has concluded, but never forget that the epic journey most definitely continues. So thank you for watching, gang. Take care. I love Dead Cells. I really love Dead Cells. Like this game, if I could get married to a game, even though I'm already married, mwah, so beautiful.